Hello, and welcome to another episode of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 2, Eli, and with me as always is...
Player one, Ike. And, Professor, did you know that this pod is on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify?
I did not Pocahontas. Are those the same places that they could
Like,
comment
share.
and subscribe?
It sure is.
Oh, how about that?
So, bro, this week, what you feeling like talking about?
I feel like we're talking about some misleading advertising.
Advertising that doesn't tell the truth? Tell me more.
We've talked about it a little bit, a little bit in passing with a few notables like Zootopia. How there's movies that have trailers or books that have back of the covers that read, and it doesn't match up with what's actually presented in the final product. Either it's what you're teased with is absolute garbage, and the end product is actually outstanding, or the other way around, where you get hyped for something phenomenal, and it's just a wet fart.
And we're not talking about bait and swishes necessarily. We're talking about content in mass, or the whole product. We're not looking at, an ending that you didn't see coming. That's not quite
Obviously,
what we're talking
they're not
about.
going to tease that.
Yeah,
there's certain things
well,
that...
one of these does.
Sure, for sure. But like in general, you're not expecting that a movie trailer is going to reveal its own ending, or take the winds out of the sails of its own big plot twist or narrative shift or any of that, and that's fine. Like trailers are not supposed to be a complete representation, but there are some that do some weirdly duplicitous things, and it sets you up walking into the theater with a completely wrong perception of what you're going to watch.
Well, for instance, under the category of bad or misleading, that were actually bad.
Actually,
What ones are coming to your mind?
So, this one isn't misleading, but it is terrible. Because, of course, Adam Sandler has a movie on this list, and the most egregious offender is Jack and Jill. Oh, God.
What you talking about, Eli?
Oh. Anybody who's ever done drag who watches the first 10 seconds of this trailer is insulted, passionately insulted by this atrocity. But I don't need to say more than Adam Sandler pretending to be a woman with the most outlandish, terrible voice affect I've ever heard. Like, they couldn't hire a vocal coach to even pretend to get it close to right. It's heinous.
He's trying his best to be Robin Williams and failing on all accounts. He's doing his Mrs. Doubtfire, except it's Mrs. Don't Fire This Project. Burn it in hell.
Exactly. Burn it, get rid of it, shit can the script. Like, yeah, it is, if Miss Doubtfire was made, trying to think of a decent comparison, it just doesn't happen. It's just,
Nope.
it's if Miss Doubtfire missed everything.
Nice.
It's bad.
I believe, before we go on to the next one, I need to double check this just so I'm not throwing him under the bus for no reason. But I believe, oh yeah, somehow they got Al Pacino in for this.
Did Adam Sandler, like, pull him from a tire fire or something?
I pull him from tire fire or pull him off, but yeah, somehow Al Pacino found his way into this flick. Speaking of people finding their way into this flick, the one I've got to counter your bad and is bad, we got Survive the Game with One Tree Hill's Chad Michael Murray, all grown up, and Die Hard's Bruce Willis very much on his way out. If you've ever wanted to see a movie trailer that was 100% spoken in movie cliche, like action cliches, have I got the trailer for you. Survive the Game is head-spinning cuts with mediocre action and all the glib lines that you expect two of in a trailer, not 17,000. I don't really need or can say more. It is just wow bad. It's so bad you're just blown away. Go check it out. Survive the Game. YouTube that shit before it gets pulled for war crimes against humanity.
It's bad.
Speaking of crimes against humanity,
Oh, crimes against humanity in comic books. But Batman v Superman is, oy. It's not the worst of this category. I think, to be fair, it's got a few redeeming moments, but it does kind of commit that cardinal sin of like doing a bunch of jump cuts. It's got some. It really misleads you on the premise, and they do some terrible things to represent Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and they just make him so awful and cringy and weird. It's just like, stop. Don't.
Get some help.
Stop. Get some help. And then, yeah, the end result was somehow worse.
It was a bad trailer that was misleading on how bad it was.
Yeah, like,
So real quick on the Jesse Eisenberg thing, was his character misrepresented, or was it just showing how bad his character was?
Yes.
Okay.
It really did show the worst, and it didn't make him, like, if you don't do Lex Luthor as the commanding, manipulative, overconfident bastard that he's supposed to be, you're doing it wrong. I don't give a shit what artist you're talking about. You're doing it wrong. That is how he operates. Full stop. And it's just like, he's this weird, nasally high-pitched, like he's a fucking ecstasy. Just, it's just all over the shop. It's nuts. I don't like it. It's bad.
Well, the next trailer on our list is probably actually not as bad a movie as I'm going to make it sound like. However, this trailer commits the cardinal sin for me. There's a trailer called The Double, starring Richard Gere, Topher Grace, and Michael Sheen.
It's a surprisingly good cast for
this
category.
So, in said movie, it starts off, it's about this new CIA agent, Topher Grace. He's going to be working under somebody who's retired or retiring in Richard Gere, and they're out to search for this one guy that's surfaced that has been on Richard Gere's kind of radar for a while. You're like, oh, okay, quasi, buddy cop, old guard, new guard, chasing down the bad, get to know each other, there's going to be differences. And there is that aspect of it. Okay, cool. Except in the trailer, they show that Richard Gere, one of the main characters, is a double agent. And then the whole movie is about Topher Grace trying to catch him. There's obviously another set of plot twists in there. However...
Is this the one where they're hunting for a guy named Cassius or something?
Yep.
Okay.
Good
I know what you're talking about.
Wow.
Yeah, I was remembering that. I was like, who is this?
You have this great plot twist. Nobody's going to see coming.
Spoil it.
And they spoil it in the trailer. In the fucking first trailer. It was not even trailer 2, it's trailer 1. And it's like, bruh. Like, there's movies like Salt with Angelina Jolie where movie starts off and then it reveals that she's suspected to be a double agent and the rest of the movies are running. That makes sense because that is literally the movie.
That's the integral plot.
Yeah. It's not the integral plot. It's not only the integral plot, but it's within 10 minutes of the movie. That's what's happening. So it's not really spoiling anything. It's just showing you the first 10 minutes. This is not 10 minutes in. This is plus, I believe it's plus 20, plus 30. And it's, it's one of those things that the movie sells itself without it, just with the cast and with the premise of catching the guy. Because I believe the reason that they're looking for him is that he's suspected of killing Richard Gere's family. It's something big. It's like, that's enough. You don't need to sell more to get people in there. And to not have this amazing thing showcased for the viewer.
Take the buddy cop angle.
Take the buddy cop angle. And not only that, if they had shown that, I might have watched the movie. The fact that they showed what I presumed was going to be the big, script flipped, I now feel like I need to see the movie, which is another reason this makes the bad misleading this bad, is that you've taken away my intrigue to see the movie.
Yeah. It does.
And so
it does rain a lot on that parade.
Speaking of movies we didn't see, or at least wish we hadn't seen, what you got next?
I wish I hadn't seen any of. Dragon Ball is a beloved series. It's been an animated classic for fucking ages.
Sorry,
however,
it's the walk. I know what's coming next. It's the pomp and circumstance of this walk up to the public beheading.
Because it warrants it. It deserves it. This crime against nature.
Yeah. If you don't know if you don't know the sound effect I'm making, just Google Dragon Ball Z car. Oh god. Sorry, continue.
In 2009, this godforsaken mess was made. It attempts to do a live action thing of fucking Dragon Ball. And it's bad. It's bad for so many reasons. Like, for one, it just can't even do its own lore anywhere close to right, which hurts. For two, Piccolo looks like he walked off of the set of The Mask. And I'm not being hyperbolic. If you put a side by side, you could probably convince people that the wrong one is Jim Carrey. They don't even do like pointed ears well on him. Like, for God's sake, come on, please. Goku sucks. Master Roshi doesn't look like Master Roshi. Like, it's an insult. And the trailer isn't good. It's so generic. It's so bland.
And the movie was worse.
And it does, it's, again, somehow the movie's worse. And it does, like, the super cringe, not cringe, but just, like, eye-rolly, like, this summer, they're going to save the Earth. Just, like, it's the worst. It's so bad. Don't do that over-dramatic voiceover. It just kills your credibility.
Yeah, the guy is dead, let it stay dead. That guy's been dead for a while, too.
You can do it, like, I respect it done, like, ironically, where it's like, it's meant to be comedic, and it's meant to be over the top and overblown. I'm all for it then, embrace the camp. But, like, if you're ever doing it seriously, look in the mirror. Do some self-reflection. Things have gone wrong.
Okay, so brief aside before we move on to a more
salvageable group.
Yeah, criteria to talk about. The voiceover guy that Eli's referring to, or that many people are mimicking when they do that, was Don LaFontaine. Died in 2008. This came out in 2009. Not acceptable. Bit of fun fact that I know and now you get to is that he went by other names, and one of them was Thunderthroat, the voice of God, the king of movie trailers. Rest in peace, Don Thunderthroat LaFontaine. What?
That's a gay porn star name. I'm sorry.
It is. Oh my God, that's awesome. Wow.
Thunderthroat. Holy shit. Did he choose that himself?
Like, maybe he was trying to tell his fans something. I don't know. That was... Wow.
Call him for a good time. Holy fuck.
Speaking of things that were a good time, but that we didn't think so for one reason or another, starting off, we got the ire engine for me that is the Zootopia teaser. Zootopia is an amazing movie. I had to be forced to watch it because this trailer turned me off of it so hard, but all the people, my co-host definitely included, got me to see it, thankfully. This movie's great. Cannot recommend it highly enough. That being said, the teaser trailer with the voiceover by the guy that plays Nick, I will fucking fight you if you think that is good. is so it can, like the double, it commits another atrocity to me, which it talks down to its audience. Granted, its audience is children, but it tells them shit they knew without knowing the words. If I tell you, hey, in this movie there's going to be animals and they're walking around on 2 feet talking like me and you, a 5-year-old's going to go, okay, got it. They're not going to need like a fucking walkthrough of this is how animal care. Like, everybody's seen a Disney movie. Everybody's watched Arthur.
Nobody watches like Babar and like throws
lose
their cup
their
at the
shit.
television. Like, oh my god! Like,
elephants are walking and talking like people. It's the nightmare that the Republicans spoke of. No, not like everybody gets it. You don't need to explain it. And the original Zootopia trailer is literally like a minute of them being like, here's how anthropomorphic animals work, you fucking bitch it. It's like, fucking no. I've known since I was knee-high to a pool table, you fucking idiot.
I saw Robin Hood when I was a child. Shut the fuck up.
I got it. I got this.
I'm here for you. Shut up.
And then the trailer moves a bit above, but commits the annoying sin of, like, just doing generic pablum as if it's groundbreaking jokes. Usually when you're doing a trailer, and you'll notice this, that every single trailer usually tries to end with its strongest joke as a selling point. Zootopia ends with, in my opinion, the worst played joke in the whole entire movie, which has a bunch of great jokes. Granted, they're hard to potentially compartmentalize to a 10-second throwaway at the end of a trailer. However, to have it be the sloth DMV joke as if it's genius just offends my sensibilities at the making of a trailer.
I think that one is a bit more on you. Like, I don't think that's that bad. But yeah, the teaser, I agree. It is such tremendous condescension, and nobody gives a shit. Like, nobody sees the trailer, like, sees it, the premise, and like gets up and leaves the theater like, I'm sorry, I thought I was here to watch people. Like,
said Zootopia. Topia means city. People live in cities.
This is bullshit. Like, no one's throwing popcorn to the screen because of this. Like,
although I would pay to see that.
I would love this freak out. However, like, it's just not going to happen.
Speaking of things that people would pay to see, what trailer did you not want to pay to see, but then did pay to see because it was so misleading, but was good?
This one hits the misleading category hard. So the 2021 movie of Suicide Squad teased a shitload of high-reel actors. They killed half of them in 5 minutes. Like, the cast debate is very real in this movie.
One of these hosts was annoyed, knew that was coming, and was quite annoyed by it.
I'm not saying it like it's not bad. It's not a bad movie. It's honestly, it's a very good movie. I very much enjoyed it.
I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, like it's a good romp. It's very well choreographed. It's got some great jokes. You know, it's good. It does absolutely fucking debate the audience, like, with half of its cast, because it just kills them unapologetically in the first 5 minutes. It's like, oh,
and also had some of the people that got debated do press work, which I feel very sorry for. Nathan Fillion's in this movie for 5-10 minutes, and he was doing press for it. Same with the guy that played the guy that's like introed on Michael Rooker did press work. Like, they did interviews. Like, they were in the fucking movie. It was like, seriously? They not only did they have to do the movie, or like not had to do the movie. They got to do the movie, but then have to do press work. Press work has to be one of the worst parts about being an actor, save just being like followed around by crazy groupies.
Yeah,
like, and to have to do multiple bits of press work, like, oh, I'm in it.
Fillion?
He was the guy that could take his arms off.
Oh my god, that was Nathan Fillion?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even notice.
The actor was in it 5 minutes and was wearing a mask. Couldn't tell it was him. But was like, went on Jimmy Fallon and talked about the movie. And they showed the only clip they possibly could with him in it. It was just like,
Excellent. What do we got next on the misleading or bad trailers?
Cabin in the Woods is a great movie.
Yes.
It scares the shit out of me, mostly because I'm a bitch. And I made peace with that. I'm fine. I don't watch horror movies for the most part. This one is worth watching because it is also, while scary to my silly, prissy butt, was also hilarious as fucking shit. It was so damn funny. However, the trailer does not let you in on that second part at all. And I think that for most people, especially, but also even for me in my little, like, tiny, scared self, saw that it was over 50% funny. This movie definitely is a comedy first and a horror second. So much of the first act, second act, like, I would say 100% of the, or like 99% of the first act, 60, 70% of the second act, and bits of the third act are comedy. And you don't really have that much horror, especially for a horror fan. This is not a horror movie. Am I correct in saying that, Broskinkowski?
Yeah, it has, like, good horror elements, but it's not like
It's
the
not.
omnipresent thing of
Yeah,
the movie. It's
it's
not the
not.
clear.
It's
It's not
not.
the primary theme of the
Yeah,
movie.
if you walked out unscared but laughed, they did their job. If you walked out like me, laughed a little and scared, they did a different job, but that wasn't the job they intended. That being said, the
Yeah,
trailer it very much sells it as a horror movie, which it has enough traipsings of that you can make a trailer of it that way, but that's not what it
yeah,
is. And so for that, it's on the
for
list.
sure.
It's like it didn't. It's not gonna get its audience there because I think too much of horror fans kind of saw it as like because as a horror movie, it is kind of It's the fact that it's got so much great tongue-in-cheek comedy that makes it top tier. And I think they kind of should have leaned into that a little bit more. I don't know what that trailer would look like. I didn't like reverse shoot it and like see what it could have been, but I think
Yeah,
that's a better selling point is as what it is as opposed to try to debate them in the wrong. I think this is the wrong direction to try to debate people. I think it'd be a little bit more interesting if it was in the reverse, if it was an actual horror movie, but they sold it as a comedy, because then you actually get people with the horror aspect of it. Also, comedy gets in more people than horror does.
yeah. Although I feel like that one people could feel. I don't know, violated is the right word,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that one has more negative connotation if they feel like they've been lied to on the
sure.
advertisement. Because like horror is one of those things that really,
Yeah, really skews an audience.
yeah, like if you're a horror fan, you're a horror fan. If you do not like it, you do not like it. Like certain
Check,
people just
please.
don't like that adrenaline.
Yep, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
scare myself enough walking to the bathroom at night. I don't need to go see a horror movie.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Speaking of things that were horrible,
well,
eh?
so I'm gonna preface this with I don't like this book. Um, however, it's gotten to the point where I've just kind of had to agree with people that like it's decent, it's well written, it's Kurt Vonnegut. Of course, it's decent because Kurt Vonnegut's a really good writer. But Slaughterhouse-Five is this book that I remember picking up, and the basically kind of back of the jacket says, you know, it's this recount about a guy who lived through the fire bombings of Dresden, and it's like was a soldier in World War II. Okay, that occupies like 30 pages of the book. It's like almost non-existent. The rest of it becomes like this fucking Dexatrin-fueled, crazy vision of like the future and this nonsensical, non-linear storytelling where he's kidnapped by aliens and learns to view time as they see it, where everything is non-linear and non-local, and he can just skip to any part of his life and rewatch it like he's fucking watching a TV program. And it's so disorienting. And really not what's advertised, because I was expecting a book about fucking World War II, not the Traumalgadorfs and this fucking batshit sci-fi romp. But a bunch of people like it, and I'm like, maybe it's just because I feel so fucking baited by the goddamn description, because this is not the book I thought I was picking up. It was like picking up a Doctor Who episode when you turn on the History Channel. It's just really not what you expect.
I thought I was going to see an American talk about aliens and be crazy, not a British alien talk about Americans and be crazy.
Yeah, like something. Like, for God's sakes, there's a fucking... For a decent chunk of the book, he's in an alien zoo. And they put a woman in there for him to fuck and mate with because they're on display. Was not expecting this in a World War II novel. Not at all.
You fool.
Yeah, like, wow,
How did
I
you
see
not see this coming?
Yeah, like...
Speaking of things I didn't see coming, we've talked about Ted Lasso
Ba-dum.
many times on the show. Thank you. We talked about Ted Lasso many times in the show. We did a whole entire, I think, review episode on it. I've wrecked it. I love the show. Went back and I didn't see the trailer, but I vaguely remembered it, and I went back and watched it. While the trailer is not inaccurate, and I think a lot of it is that it might be difficult to put into a trailer what makes this show great. The trailer really does make you think it's going to be a silly feel-good piece of crap. And where
Yeah,
there
not
is
have any kind of depth.
have not any depth, have no character development, have no nuance, have no strength in writing, because it's all of the tackiest and most generic pablum bits of Ted Lasso in the trailer. And while that is an aspect of it, it's more of like a guise than it is the reality, which is what makes the show great. Like, if the show is just Jason Sudeikis saying dumb American shit in a Midwestern accent, the show wouldn't be the tour de force that it is.
No,
It
would
does
be
have that as a
decent
misdirect.
comedy.
Yeah. It does have that in there as a misdirect for other characters and for us as the viewers to kind of get aw shucks fooled by, and allows them to kind of come back around, which is why it makes the show so satisfying. However, the trailer is literally mono
It's just that.
just that, and it's like, oh, okay. They didn't even include the bit. I think they should have in the trailer. They don't include the bit that is in episode 1 where Rebecca's just like, yeah, fuck him. This is all to get back at my ex-husband. Because if that's in the trailer, that creates intrigue. But the fact that in the trailer there's nothing but...
You think it's actually just genuinely him going?
Yeah.
Like, almost unprompted, or without, like, motivation. Okay.
Totally.
Yeah,
Which, thank God there's word of mouth, because otherwise I never would have seen this. Because if I had ever seen that trailer, I would have been off it. But all I heard was tremendous accolades from anybody I know on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'll check this out. And then I accidentally watched the first, like, 4 episodes or something like that.
It's good when you accidentally watch multiples.
Oh, yeah. There's like, I think there's like 2 shows I've done it with, that and Attack on Titan, the only 2 that I can remember where I just like, crap.
I did that with the first season of Beastars.
I did that too. I lied. Yeah, I did that. Like,
I ended
think
up realizing it was like 12:30, and I'm like, I have work in the morning. I can watch one more.
I've got work to do. All right. Well, speaking of things that are great and are great, what you got in the old magazine?
First one on this list is and also something that I was like, this seems interesting, and then I tried it. And I'm like, and I'm reading all of this tonight. It's called A Silent Voice. I think I've mentioned it a couple times previously.
I think you wrecked it on 1 week.
It's phenomenal. I really can't do it enough. I can't stroke it hard enough. I just can't. It's not possible. It's so good. Both the manga that was made for it, the manga that was made, and the movie adaptation that was made. And it does a very good job providing it because on the surface it is a very, very simple premise. And it is a kind of coming... I don't know if coming to age is quite right, but like coming to maturity or coming to acceptance and development as a person, like as a man. Like, that's the main story for the main character, and having to make up with basically being a piece of shit as a kid. And trying to atone, essentially, and realize that, like, you can't always do that. Instead, all you get to do is move forward.
Yeah.
And it does a very good job with limited stakes, and you are just sucked in by character interaction and dialogue. And the trailer does a fairly good job selling it to you. And it also does one of the more interesting things, and part of what makes it so interesting, especially in the trailer, is the way it represents, like, social anxiety. Because the main character sees everybody, except a few exceptions, as people with an X across their face, because he doesn't know how to approach them.
Oh, wild.
Yes, it's very, very good. I read it in 2 days, and I think the only reason I didn't read it, one, is because I started at like 10 p.m., and I realized it was almost 1 in the morning. It's like, I need to go to bed. I'm finishing this tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What's next?
Next up, we have the whirlwind planet destroyer that is Squid Game. Now, this show was great.
It was very, very good.
Sans the last 2.5 episodes.
Let's go a little bit off the rails. I still think it's a very good show.
Overall, great show.
Yes.
They need to be a Russian gymnast next time and stick the landing a little harder. Show overall tremendous.
Yeah.
The trailer even better. In my opinion, this might be like one of the best trailers of all time, especially for a great show, but just in general. It's got great, and one of the things that was a through line through the show, it had great artistry to it. All with the choice in that, they're taking him to this like made place. They got to play with the design a lot, having monochromatic colors, having the suits, having that like the kind of pop like that really added to the mise en scène, the visual just delicatessen that you were presented with.
Yeah, and it got to show off style and novelty without you having any fucking clue.
Yeah. It got to suck you in with the style and then just like feed you with the substance when you got to watch the show.
Yeah.
Not only do they have the great, costume design and setting design, they also had great cinematography even in the trailer. They have this awesome match cut sequence that for me as a film student was just like, oh yeah.
Talking about everyone's lining up for the van.
Yeah, everyone's just like, it's cutting backs, getting into the van, and just like the pacing of the cutting, and like,
I think they sync it with a beat too, so it's dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
As you see from four different people all lining up for the same handoff, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah,
It does the great thing of showing the first game that's in the first episode, or is it the second episode? Second episode, right?
The red light, green light?
Yeah, is it first episode or second?
No, it's the end of the first episode.
They do it in the first one? Okay.
I
do it in the
so.
second one. Whatever. It's the first game, they show one. It's very important that they show exactly one. Because then you get a taste, but you don't get like the whole entire,
Nope.
You just get the, the taste of the outer taste of the first, what are the things called? Gobstopper. You don't know what the second one tastes like, looks like. And so
it also sets stakes.
Yeah. Sets stakes, introduces you to the character. It does it all just so fantastic. Introduces you to a couple main characters, a couple tertiary characters, gets you intrigued without telling you. It tells you a fair amount, but not all of it. It's exquisite.
Yep.
Speaking of exquisite things.
I am, unlike my co-host, a big sucker for horror and thrillers. Yeah, I love the adrenaline, love the blood pumping, and a good one is funny games. And what I love about the trailer is one, it is very simple, and it does fun things with music to help create intrigue, because its music seems very dissonant for... what song are they using for that trailer?
I think it's Hall of the Mountain King, right? That's the part they use for the end. The bum,
I think
bum,
you're
bum,
right.
bum, 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 bum. Yeah, it's Hall of the Mountain King. Yep.
And it kind of undercuts, like, you watching a family get hunted, essentially, in their own house. And they do such a good job with the two people who play, effectively, the sociopaths next door, being that creepy and very aloof, like, yes, stab. And it just plays so well. And their first interaction is them walking in saying, "Oh, hello, we're your next door neighbors," and they just smack the husband with a golf club. And so you have no clue what they're gonna do next. There's no wind up, no pretense, no rage. They're just creepy and unsettlingly, and like their smile isn't like, oh, they're not friendly neighbors. It's just unsettling because you don't know what the fuck's coming next. It does such a good job with that.
Yeah, I while I would not enjoy watching the movie and mildly was a little, weaseling back in my seat, the trailer is just amazing.
It's very good.
Very also
simple, very good.
Yeah. While, it's playing Hall of the Mountain King, it also has these characters doing Hall of the Mountain King perfectly offsets everything else. The whole entire trailer is juxtaposition. You have Hall of the Mountain King versus this very what's the affluent family. I was kind of trying to come up with a better term, but affluent family. Everybody's wearing like crisp white shirts. They're looking good, dressed expensively well, but in very reserved stylings.
Yeah.
And then you have these people coming over doing violent things with a smile on their face, confused at their victim's horror. So it's this perfect mesh of juxtaposition. And it's,
Yeah, I'm also just a sucker for the kind of, not oblivious, but completely unconcerned sociopath in horror movies. Like,
Oh yeah,
it works. If it's done right, it's just so good.
it's something so foreign and something just that we can't wrap like our
Yeah,
average like
it's so dissonant.
yeah, like a psychopath is something to be feared. You understand that it's dangerous. It's like a bear. You know, a psychopath is just a bear. You're just like, oh shit, that could kill. Like, it might be friendly now and just eating peanut butter, my peanut butter sandwich,
But you don't
but also
know.
could kill me. But
Yeah.
with a completely detached sociopath, it's like dealing with a baby that can shoot fireballs. You're like, this is
Jack,
like
Jack,
I'm
no.
scared, but also what? Like you just can't understand it. It's oh god, love it.
All right, what's next on the agenda?
Speaking of things I also love, there was a There was a series that came out this last year, directed by Ben Stiller, called Severance. Severance is amazing. Like the trailer is just tremendous. It does everything I want with the kind of what we were saying last one with its juxtaposition, and you've
Mm-hmm.
got this kind of eerie setting, but at the same time, it's just very normal. It's people going to work in this office with this like little hitch, and it's like as the trailer progresses, it's like, oh, something's wrong. But also everything feels like it should be right. And it's almost like your brain is like if you've watched movies enough, the trailer makes your brain play a trick on itself. It's so normal, everything is so fine that clearly something is wrong. And it
Yeah.
like uses that as its weapon, which is just pure meta genius to understand the average viewer's psyche and use it against themselves by having nothing there as like not as nothing but has an empty plate that you should be wary of or an empty chair that like causes you distress. It's that kind of uh, amazing psychology at work, just using the known form, subverting it in the most seemingly like if you showed this trailer, granted color would scare them, but if you showed this trailer to people 100 years ago, they'd be like, all right, like whatever, it's people that work in an office, this could be interesting. But since we've evolved as a society, as a viewing populace,
Mm-hmm.
the known the known acceptance of what is and what isn't to be coming down the pipeline and then subverting that, by just in presentation alone causes the viewer distress.
Yeah.
It's just pure genius. And I was grateful to see and hear that, it's amazing. It's gotten, I think, 20 Emmy nominations. Ben Stiller continues to prove that he's an amazing director as well as he's a great actor. He did Tropic Thunder. He did this. I think he did something else. No, I need to look. And it's just like, damn, fucking man's got bars. What else did he do?
Fair
One
enough.
second before we move on, I'm very curious if IMDb can load just a hair faster. Director. He did Severance. Oh, he directed Zoolander. Oh, he directed Zoolander? Wait, what?
The problem is, I always forever associate Ben Stiller with Zoolander.
Yeah,
That
no,
kinda
but he
undercuts him 'cause,
directed it.
That is okay. Fair enough.
What?
I don't like that movie. So it kind of
Sure.
kills my vibe on Ben Stiller.
Okay, well, here's
He does do good stuff for sure.
well, Zoolander's awesome, so kick rocks.
Uh,
But also, he
know
directed
it's just
he
me.
directed The Cable Guy. He directed Zoolander, which he starred in, which is like pretty
Yeah.
early on, not early on in his career, but definitely not late. He
Yeah.
directed Tropic Thunder, which he also starred in and was fucking
Wow, I
amazing.
did not know he directed Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, he directed Tropic Thunder, and then he directed Severance. This guy's got range from the outside. Let's go, Ben Stiller. Speaking of things from the outside, what next do you have?
So
on the
our
itinerary?
last in this good and great is Arcane, and partially I think honestly of the trailers in this category, it's probably the worst that I'm remembering through a lot of rose-tinted glasses. But it is still a good trailer, and I'm a sucker for the kind of epic orchestral music they lean into, and it does a very good job showcasing just how dope its visuals are. And it's got a number of these really great kind of still images. Like, one of the great ones, it just gives you a split second of is Vi putting on the gauntlets and like standing in front of Caitlyn as like the gauntlets wind up and release a hiss of steam. Like it's got a bunch of moments like that if you've got any attachment to the characters, you go, "Oh yeah, that's the real shit that's happening." And even for characters that you don't recognize, you still got crazy shit. Like they show shimmer being used, for example. You've no clue what the fuck it is, but it looks crazy as it makes somebody Hulk out. So it's got just the right amount of breadcrumb, I feel like, to really get you in and wondering. And like it presents Silco, and you're pretty sure Silco's bad.
Just on looks alone.
Just on looks alone. And the fact that they say like, and then we ran into a real monster and it just shows Silco's face. It's like, it does a good job establishing, it's like, Silco's probably going to be a bad guy.
Bad guy.
I
think one of the things it also does well is it showcases its artistry, and which is
it's art in its style.
It's art in its style, which I think is probably. I don't want to. It's weird. I don't want to give it too much credit, but I don't want to give it too little either. I want to say it's like 50% of its success. It's probably more than that. Its story is really fucking good, and so is its music. So like,
I would say that its initial draw is like 75% of its art and style.
Sure. And I think it does a good job in the trailer of showing you all that it has to offer to kind of fully
because it does a good job showing both Piltover and the Undercity.
Yeah.
So you get to see not just the style, but also the range of style. How it can do both the clean and pristine versus the grungy and decrepit. It just we have stroked that show enough. You know we love this show. It is outstanding. So, of course...
Moving on!
Moving on! Alright. And our last category is the inverse, where we have a phenomenal trailer, but holy shit does the end product suck balls.
Speaking of sucking, this is not great of a transition. First up on the list, I got Sucker Punch.
Oh, stop.
I'm trying! Sucker Punch is a movie made by Zack Snyder. Hey, look, he was earlier on this list.
What do you know?
I wanted to like this movie so fucking bad. It's got the great Zack Snyder oeuvre of 300 and all its fight scenes. Check. It's got, like, you know, that visual styling like in 300 with, like, the dark and shadows. Check. It has good soundtrack. Check. It's got metaphorical representation of, like, I guess that's not really known until the movie, but it's got metaphorical representation of circumstance, elevating it so that it's even better for action. Check. And it still sucked Wang Chung dick. Fuck. Everything about this movie, if you wrote out those bullet points, I should be there for. And which is why, even after seeing like the 20 or 30% I got on Rotten, I was like, fuck you guys, and went and saw it in theaters. I was like, God damn it.
They were right.
They were right.
The majority was right.
The wind up to all the action sequences isn't really worth it. They go one too many layers down the rabbit hole, which is perplexing and confusing, even to somebody that is... I don't want to give myself like loads of credit, but I write, I read, I watch a lot of stuff, and I still got a little like, huh? At the end. Also, the decisions at the end are, what? I end up sounding like a goose in the theater. I was like, just like all I'm doing is making noise. Yeah, all I'm doing is honking in the freaking theater. And that's, just save yourself a lot of trouble. Watch the trailer if you want to, be hoodwinked. But don't go see the movie, just Google or just YouTube the Sucker Punch fight sequences. Best part of the movie by far, not even close. The rest of it is untenable. Speaking of great things that are untenable.
Speaking of great things and great casts that were untenable. Well, the other Suicide Squad made a decent list. This one does not. The 2016 Suicide Squad had a baller trailer where it's playing Bohemian Rhapsody and putting it over a bunch of disparate, chaotic scenes.
But also doing my favorite thing, which is kinetically matching.
Yes.
where you've got the riffs meeting the action on screen.
Yep.
If you want to see this done great, watch basically every Edgar Wright movie. He does this a lot. Big fan of it for a reason. And this, they do it ad nauseum, and it's... I don't know about you, Burskinkowski.
It's very satisfying to watch.
Every time I see this trailer, part of me wants to go watch this movie.
Yes. No, and I do remember, because I remember getting hyped up as shit.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this looks dope. This would be amazing.
It's
terrible.
Fuck yeah.
It was so bad.
And it was.
Despite its fucking star-studded cast, it found a way to, borrow this phrase, suck some Wang Chung cock. It wasn't good. It has very few redeeming qualities. Outside of its soundtrack.
And even then, its soundtrack is just super borrowed.
Yeah.
I think it's like somebody made a great, it's a great YouTube video talking about why its soundtrack sucks. And it's because, and it's going to be about something I talk about later, where there is no nuance, there's no subtlety, there is no, it is just so, this character's, tortured and has a boyfriend problem. Okay, let's put You Can't Own Me by, I don't remember who the fantastic singer was. They're in New Orleans. No. This is like an old song from like the 70s or something like that. It's a tremendous song. Now I have to look it up to give deference. But like, we're in the bayou. Let's play, or there's a crocodile guy. Let's play Born on the Bayou. It's just like, it's all just like on its face the whole entire time.
Yeah, for sure. Survey says.
All right, looking.
No, I heard you typing. I thought you had it.
No.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone full fucking Harvey.
Harvey?
Steve Harvey?
Oh, right. Hold on. Suicide Squad. Soundtrack. It did have one good song on its soundtrack, but it was the original song that was made
credits.
For it. Yeah. I think it was also in the teaser, but yeah. All right.
I think it was.
So You Don't Own Me by Leslie Gore. Came out in 1963.
Okay.
It's a great song, but it's just like, here you go, get it? She can't. And that's the whole entire movie is just like them just like shoving things in your face, like, you see, like, yeah, it's like the worst substitute teacher explaining math to 10-year-olds. Like, 2 + 2 = 4, idiot. Get it? I have 2 fingers. I put them both on the hand. 4 fingers. Whap. See, like that's every single song choice.
All right, stop beating this horse. It's dead. It's dead, Jim.
All right, let me go to the next horse. That's mildly
Go to the next
alive.
horse. Just say, you don't break the bat too early.
Promising Young Woman is not a bad movie. I will start by saying that. I am not a fan of it, but more people than me that are probably smarter than me have said it's good, or at least decent. I very much am not a fan of it because it doesn't really like using subtext at all. It, kind of like with the music choices in the last one and a bunch of other choices in the last one, it just very much, here's the thing. It's like, okay. Like, this is like to like show off my education a little bit. In film school, one of the most important things that they talk about is that not duplicity necessarily, but that there's kind of stand-ins, that there's deeper meaning. Because if your audience, and there's some exceptions, comedy and action movies can be, sometimes even though they don't. Like, there's plenty of good comedy and action movies that actually do have, deeper text and deeper meaning. They don't have to, but it definitely benefits them and, raises them up when they do. Case in point, just look at some of the Edgar Wright stuff. Big fan. He also is just an amazing writer, which is why his stuff, works on layers. But when you don't have layers and depth, your audience gets bored and your audience is uninspired. They need something like, unless you have visual spectacle, which is why I think action and comedy, you can get away with it because they're too preoccupied with the thing. But if there's any amount of downtime or sitting moment where you're like letting your characters ruminate on screen, which is a good thing, especially when dealing with drama and character study of any variety, You need the audience to also have the back of their brain spinning on, what does this mean? What is deeper here? It can't be that they're sitting because they have diarrhea. There needs to be more. That can't be the thing that's keeping the character there. There needs to be more meaning to that. And in Promising Young Woman, there really wasn't. It was really on its face. And also the problem with its trailer was it hyped it up beyond the measure that it was going to deliver, which I think was a problem. Because in the trailer, it looks like the main character is killing people. It looks like she's taking vengeance too far, which is a very fun, and like one of the reasons I was interested in seeing the movie is because that's a very fun idea of having a character with good intentions go too far past and become the villain. You know, that's how you get Two-Face in the Christopher Nolan Batman series, which makes him a very interesting character, complex, and you're struggling because you understand where he's coming from and why he feels that way, but also what he's doing is horrific. Urgh. And so you as an audience member are conflicted. That is a good place to be. That is the best place to be. You want your art to pull something out of you. In Promising Young Woman, you don't have that problem. She is literally, while she has problems dealing with people because PTSD and she's just an overall bitch, that's the only word I can come up with. Been calling myself a bitch. I'll call male characters a bitch when they're being a bitch, but she's being a bitch the whole entire movie. Understandably so. She went through some horrific things via her friend's suicide. Got it. However, it's really hard for us to watch that and then watch her have this kind of, while having this terrible character affect, also then go and do this mild shit to get back at society. Because all she does is put herself in harm's way, idiotically, for the payoff of scaring straight all these guys that take her out and try to rape her via alcohol. And that's it. That's all there is to this burger. It is just a single slice of cheese, one strip of bacon. Here's technically a sandwich. It's like, I paid for the bacon deluxe. Yeah, there's bacon, there's cheese. It's a bacon deluxe. There's one strip of bacon. That's our bacon, cheese, bacon deluxe. There's so much possibility here. So much was offered. None of it was given. And it kind of makes me sad for the project because you can't now make something in this vein without being compared to that, even though, in my opinion, most efforts would be better.
Yeah.
Curse you, mediocrity! All right. Moving on.
Well, this is another one that more people like somehow, and I can't fucking understand it. I've bitched about this once. I'm gonna bitch about it again. Fuck this movie. Come True is it? God, and I remember watching the trailer. I remember watching it with my wife because we were looking for something to watch that night. And we're like, wow, this looks so cool. As this fucking crazy sleep paralysis demon intrigue, and it does this really cool sequence where they're showing a bunch of things happening on monitors and this kind of grainy, almost alien-esque footage, and you're seeing people going to bed and having a fucking conniption fit in their sleep and stuff, and you're just hearing someone voice over what happens as you progress through stages of sleep, and it's this really cool kind of sequence you watch unfold. It's really fucking interesting. God, the movie sucks. God, it sucks so hard. God, it is unsatisfying at the end. It is the ultimate fucking blue ball of a film I've ever borne witness to. It just has so many cool things that it fucking props up, and it just fails to deliver on any of them. It just does shit, forgets that other things happened, and then does the hastiest, most haphazard write-off of a film ever.
If it makes you feel any better, the audience agrees with you, while the critics may not. So
yeah, I don't know what the fuck those critics were smoking. I don't know who laced their cigarettes with a bunch of LSD.
Probably the producers.
Jesus Christ! They must have been paid. Someone had to bribe them to write a favorable fucking review. God Almighty. It's so bad. It's all this symbolism. Fuck your symbolism. If you can't tell a decent story and have a coherent narrative, your symbolism could eat my shoes.
Yeah, one of these things needs to happen before the other. Definitely.
Yes, Jordan Peele is a very good example of somebody who puts a clear and devoted amount of symbolism in his movies. But you know what? His movies also don't need the fucking symbolism to stand on their own.
Yep.
I'd argue his most recent one is a little bit worse at this. I think Nope has some stuff that's very clearly just there for symbolism, but it still plays pretty well, and it's still a good movie. It's still a good movie. It ends in a decent spot.
Well, to round this out, I've got a movie that I wanted to be good so bad. The Comeback Trail is most everything I want in a movie. It's glib, it's self-aware, it's poking fun at the industry that's being made in. I love it. And it's star-studded with great acting in different roles. You've got Robert De Niro as this down-and-out producer who owes a mobster money. The mobster is Morgan Freeman. The intro starts with Robert De Niro trying to get a reprieve on getting executed by Morgan Freeman because he owes him money. And he goes, "You're lying to me." He goes, "Oh, I'm not lying." "Okay, I'm lying a bit. I'm a producer. That's what we do." It's like, I'm already in. This is great. Also, just seeing a weathered and graying Robert De Niro hamming it up. It's like, you haven't seen this at Kings of Comedy. He's always cast in this kind of tough guy, probably Italian, I kill people role. It's kind of nice to see him being like, "Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da." It's like, yeah, that's great. He's got Robert De Niro is one of the best living actors right now, said by many people. And I'm inclined to believe it, especially when he does roles like this. And I'm very convinced that this is this skeezy producer. Yeah. And then Morgan Freeman's first line, he's like, "You give me the money by Thursday, or I choke you to death." Not I kill you, not I pull a bullet, I choke you to death. I'm like, I don't know what it is about that, but I'm here for it. That's great.
I'm in.
Yeah. And then you've got Tommy Lee Jones playing this actor who's just an alcoholic. It's I'm here for all of it, and none of it worked, and I'm just sad.
Oh, no.
The trailer was just action-packed, best lines, great cast. And then just apparently shit the bed.
Faceplant.
Yeah, I would love to say I saw this and it either, they were wrong or they were right, and I'm sad. Some of the other ones a bit, I saw Sucker Punch, saw Promising Young Woman, saw Suicide Squad. Comeback Trail has not been available on any online thing that I could find, sadly. So I have not been able to see this. Bummer City. Yeah. Well, to not leave you on a down and out note, we've got a fun bit of news. This is episode 21. On episode 24, we are going to attempt to do a mailbag episode. So if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, topics you'd like us to ruminate or rage about, just shoot them on over to superprosbros@gmail.com. That's superprosebros@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from any and all of our fans. As silly, ridiculous, highbrow as your questions can be, as long as they are story related, whether they be, film or paper, we are here to talk about them.
Absolutely. So.
And with that, we're going to send it to a break so you can pretend not to listen and write us a question at superprosbros@gmail.com. See you back in a bit. Do you love video games? Now, what if I told you that we could take your favorite one and turn it into a movie? To which you'd likely respond, well, how are you going to? The answer to that question, and many more canonical pitfalls, is we just won't do that part.
But it's important to the story.
Too bad. But they're a very pivotal character that determines the... Well, we'll fix that one in post. So, what will we get? Do you like Easter eggs? I mean, how about fan service?
Sure, that's...
What about poorly cast movie stars in our efforts for mainstream appeal?
What? No, we don't.
Fantastic. See you in theaters this summer, so you can give us at least $20 to prove how much of a real fan you are, and curse our names as you leave the theater, but then probably buy some merch from Hot Topic that, guess what, we also get money for. Later, nerds!
And welcome back to the show.
Hi, folks.
Thank you. So, Isaac, what have you got to pitch to the good people for this week?
This week?
This week.
I had this idea. I've had this idea for either a movie or TV show for a while. The working title is very bleh, which is Merx, which is about, hey, it's about mercenaries. Whoa!
What
I'm so
concept?
inventive. But there was this idea of in the story of having a kind of a young plucky guy to be the stand-in for the audience so that they could more fully understand the circumstance with him asking the questions that they don't understand without of it just being endless exposition seemingly out of nowhere. And one of the circumstances that was going to kind of come down to it is this like an epic fight or a big showdown and have him say something along the lines of we're the good guys or good prevails or some pie in the eye bullshit, and have one of the kind of main his kind of teacher's not the right word, mentor of a sort, the guy that brought him into this whole mess, just kind of stop him there and be like, that's not a thing. Like, there's no bad and good. There's winners and losers. There's there's the guys that live and there's the guys that dies. Nobody's wrong. Everybody's got their reasons. Everybody's got their point of view. We just disagree with them, whether they should keep the money, whether they should keep breathing, whether they should, keep blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's all human projection. And I kind of have this like Zen, moment. It's one of my favorite things in this kind of noir bullet hell kind of narratives is the character that has this Zen approach to life. Because I feel like, while you can, juicing up soldiers to go to war, the easiest way to do it is make them out to be the good guys and the other guys out to be the bad guys. That's how you create xenophobia. That's how you create, that's why you, like, if you look back in like the 40s and before, and still after then, there's a lot of racist rhetoric to get people to go to war, because it's the easiest way to do it is put the enemy as the bad guy. They're the villain.
Us versus them.
Yeah. Us good, other bad. It's the easiest way to get people to fight. Small, big scale does not matter. And so when you're doing it on a daily job for money, potentially switching teams from job to job, that cannot be your outlook. I wouldn't think, at least not the way I would write these fictional circumstances. So to have a character literally kind of sit down and be like, yo, and just kind of say, because that is so much of our life anyways, we make these people out to be bad. It's like, no, we just disagree with them. In this case, we're going to disagree with guns, but we disagree with them. And I have that circumstance play out and get to not only vent my feelings, but kind of showcase to the audience of like what we're really buying into in a lot of situations. Because that is a lot of the things, like the war on terror. It's like, was it? Weren't we just killing a bunch of brown people over there for oil? Didn't we just want what they had? And this is like, it was a charlatan's excuse of a reason to go to, to kill people. I think it's one of the things that art can do is show you something from a different angle so you can understand it in your day-to-day life. And that with a fun way of doing it through this circumstance, I think it's a good lesson to teach and a good, idea to be like really talked out. I think it's like one of my favorite things is when characters kind of get to have a grandstanding moment. And, one of the fantastic ones is No Half Measures from Breaking Bad, with our boy Mike Ehrmantraut talking, for like 4 minutes about this thing that happened and why he'll never let it happen again. And it's kind of like a life lesson of like realizing when something's going off the rails, and instead of letting something go off the rails, you nip it in the bud. You don't let, in his case, you don't let the wife go back to the abusive husband who's beating the shit out of her, because eventually he's going to kill her.
Yeah.
Like that, you don't let the guy who's thinking about doing something bad get away with it. Just because it's not a big deal now. It's like, but it will be later. Check that problem at the door. So kind of like having that and just getting to just write a page of dialogue, just wall to wall, top to bottom, and just get to let my inner inhibitions just write it out and have a ball. What about you? What you noodling about this week?
What I, for lack of a better term, call like Mythos for now, is I'm wondering, in large part because I keep seeing talk about Thor coming up, and I'm wondering what heroes would do, or if mythological heroes kind of showed back up, would it be what would they do? And this goes one of two ways. And one is the
this is fun.
complete transposition. You just get Heracles walking around, complete fish out of water, and like, oh god, the lights are flashing. Or is it just someone is suddenly a god among men, literally, because old school men of myth are nuts.
Yeah.
And do you choose to do the good thing with that power, or do you quickly abuse it? But there's something always fun, and it's why I'm so drawn to like superhero media in most forms, about something being so otherworldly.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it'd be there's plenty of modern interpretations. Like I think American Gods is an easy example.
Yeah, I was gonna say this sounds like American Gods a bit, except they had that one to be. That one was played in such a grandiose way that it sounds like you're kind of putting it more in the thing. I'm using this word right, like tertiary, grounded reality, because they were literally gods. They are like, they are more in like the ephemeral way gods than they were in the literal, like in, because it sounds like what you're talking about is how in like the Greek stories, people would physically interact with gods and weird shit would happen. Like people would accidentally see Artemis, bathing and then get turned into a deer and hunted.
Yeah.
Like fucking insane repercussions, physical interaction. American Gods is fun,
Tons of
but
rape.
yeah.
Thanks,
Zeus do what Zeus penis gonna do.
The original spokesman for Viagra.
Bang like Zeus. Trojan man. There's this great meme. I can't not say this now. There's this great meme that is of this black guy in a yellow suit looking fly, leaning around a tree, licking his lips while rubbing his hands together. And it's just underneath, it's Zeus in all of Greek mythology looking at any woman ever. It's like, yeah, basically. It's just like, just thinking of what creature he's going to like randomly fuck her. That's the best part, is the amount of bestiality in Greek mythology is bananas. He's just rocking up to people as he started having fun with it at some point. You got to give Zeus credit. Like at a certain point, he's like, I fucked too many women as a human being. Let's get creative. It's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna come to her as an eagle.
And the weird part is that it isn't just like, it isn't just mammals. Like,
no,
because you got, you're like, let's turn to horses and bang. Let's go dogs. Let's go flies.
Yeah, he really started throwing darts. He really started throwing darts at a board of just creatures. Just oh, fly today? That sounds like a challenge.
Well, he did it so he could eat the person and hide his unborn child, so he wouldn't get in trouble with Hera.
Had to hide her from the missus.
Love it. It's amazing. What the fuck were the Greek people eating?
They really didn't have any editors back then, is what it is to say. There was nobody being like, really? I'm trying to think of like, Socrates. Is this really who you want? It's like, yeah, like that middleman was not there. It was some guy just riding high on whatever drug there was at the time and just publishing it.
Just overdosing on mescaline.
Yeah.
Just etching onto a tablet.
Burn it.
But what are you writing, Theodore? I don't know.
But it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
no, but I think that's a really fun way of doing it. It's kind of like flipping, instead of making them, because so much of American Gods was about getting people to believe in whatever they were, not selling, but whatever they were about, which was cool, but it is so big and beyond us that is kind of like, all right, this is cool, but also what the fuck? Where this puts it in a lot more of like it's kind of like Greek mythology meets The Boys, except there's like no god killers to go around. There's so many ways you could take this too. You could make it a comedy where you're just kind of like, oh, there goes Apollo doing Apollo things, or like Aphrodite's just running a brothel or like this. I don't. You can have so many fun takes on it, or you could go kind of mildly serious. Like some guy getting Machiavellian and playing the gods against each other for retribution because it's the only way to kind of get even. For him, like, Zeus fucked his mom and killed her. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to get back. How? You can't kill Zeus. He's Zeus. Okay, so I'm going to do, I'm going to fuck his shit up,
In many ways, like a more gritty and horrific take on what Percy Jackson is probably more the direction I'd end up leaning.
Yeah.
Although, probably not like there are new demigods and just roll from there, but probably like existing ones are either reincarnated or transferred somehow to.
I mean, also you could have them as if they like hibernated and showed back up. Not that they were like confused how the world worked, but they were more like bored and on vacation too. Would be kind of a fun thing. It's like they understand how the world works.
Barbados.
Yeah, there's Zeus rocking up in Cancun on spring break, just like fucking all of ASU.
We gotta stop coming back to Zeus.
But he's the best at being the worst.
I was gonna say the best at being a philandering man whore. Yes.
Yeah. He really is a boy. BOI spell.
Like he's I think he is the universe's most tremendous philanderer.
Oh yeah.
Like
no way.
I don't think it's close.
No.
Like in like any mythos, he just like
he's the Wayne Gretzky of philandering.
He's the Wayne Gretzky cheating on his wife.
Catchable. You cannot like if for fun fact, Google NHL records. He literally there's some of them he can't be caught because the game has changed. There's others that people that have been great haven't come close. He earned the nickname the Great One. He is in a different realm. The amount of hat tricks he has is double the next person down. And the next person down is like 600 or something like that.
Lord.
Just like, by the way, for those of you that aren't a hockey player, hat trick is getting 3 points in a game. Most games end with one team having less than 3 points. It's kind of like soccer on ice. Like the amount of goals that are scored in hockey is apocalyptically low, and Gretzky I think is like 1,200 hat tricks. It is unreal. The guy is goated to the max. Yeah, I think he might be. It'd be interesting. That's a different conversation for a different podcast. But looking up and seeing, he might actually just be like broke the game the most of any game that's ever been broken. So I don't think anybody's even close. Like Steph Curry was close in basketball for a while, but there's people that are in his echelon at this point because I think they just realize, oh yeah, shooting threes is really good strategically.
Turns out.
Anyway.
Yeah, so what have you got to recommend to people before we get back to Zeus somehow?
Well, I am going to be talking about one of the things we did talk about, not Zeus. You talked about American Gods, which was written by Neil Gaiman, and I tried to check out Sandman this week. I think that first word should give you a hint at what's coming. Sandman is not bad. However, I do think it is mildly unwatchable, and I'll get to why. So the first bit of good, to be fair, I only watched the first episode and some clips, so maybe it's one of those that there's, if you watch, there was a show we talked about a while back, where it was on, now I'm looking, I think it was last week, wasn't it? Yeah, I was talking about The Bear, and the first episode wasn't the best episode. It was still good. This one kind of might be like that. However, I have a problem with that because the episodes are an hour. And literally the first episode, I could sum up very thoroughly on a napkin. And it's an hour. The first episode of The Bear might not be great, but it's still quite good. And it's also 20 minutes. This one is an hour and just so little happens that feels like it even matters. It's just so long. That being said, the acting of everybody but the main character, and I don't think it's his fault. I think this is the way the character is meant to be represented. But the acting of everybody but the main character is pretty cool. I'll give him that. That being said, the guy that plays Dream, which is the main character in Sandman, and I think from what I've seen of the rest of the kind of godlike characters, these like celestial beings, if you will, is they're meant to be otherworldly, but that is also probably part of my problem with them, is that it's really hard for me to give a shit, get invested, when these characters are dealing with problems so far outside my realm of understanding, with so little human kind of character to them. There's so much talk and like in this godlike omniscient sort of way, and then at the same time they have these interactions that are human-like, but there's no, like we were saying earlier with the music choice from the first Suicide Squad of the film, is there's no subtext. They're speaking the subtext, and that drives me mad. It's just so on its face the whole entire time, and the stakes are so outside my realm of understanding that I had no foothold in this first episode remotely. That being said, the acting is great, the visuals are great. The real big problem, though, is just the character interactions, and the plane of existence is something just so beyond my conception or understanding that I could never get with it and walk with it. I was always just confused and disoriented. So my actual recommendation for this week, other than, check out The Sandman. If you get 20 minutes in, you're like, this isn't for me. Guess what? The next 40 minutes aren't going to be for you fucking either.
It's going to continue the trend.
Honestly, it gets worse, I think. I think it slows down after the first 20 minutes, so it's not even better. What I am going to recommend this week, and by the way, that was no slight against Neil Gaiman. Love him. I think he's really awesome. That wasn't for me. Hopefully it's for some of you guys watch it and you enjoy it. I literally couldn't. What I could watch, and will watch all the rest of, is, since we were also talking about this episode as well.
Since it came up today.
Wild. Yeah, Jesus, the through lines are amazing. There is a documentary that is still coming out on Netflix called Arcane: Bridging the Rift. This is the story of how one of our favorite shows in Arcane came to being. And it's just, it's a story about documentary format of how it happened. Yeah. And all that went around in the background. Guess what? This is one of the things I'm very much interested in, because this is a field I'm, pursuing. But when it comes to filmmaking, not everything is clean, done easy, goes right. And this shows it to the max. The amount of time that happened, the problems that happened, the budgeting things, the rewrites, it's fantastic. It has stakes. I understand them. Sorry, Sandman. And also it's got a lot of fun back history, a lot of fun little tidbits that you can chew on and know more about and learn about. It really flushes, it didn't need it, but it flushes out the kind of intrigue I had into Arcane of just learning all that went into it. It's so cool. Could not recommend it higher. What about you, Broski? What you got to rec this week?
Taking a very different line, I have a throw for the tokusatsu genre, which is not to get dropped often.
All right, you're gonna have to first explain the tokusatsu genre.
Think basically Big Mechs fighting big monsters, like a la classic Power Rangers kind of thing.
Oh, sweet.
It's called SSS Gridman. It's that. It's a big robot kind of mech construct fighting big fucking monsters. It's great. It's pretty much what you want it to be.
So Pacific Rim the anime.
Yes. It's got more nuance and some interesting kind of story development as it goes. Because it has to do the kind of cliche kids in a high school classroom.
Because it's an anime.
Because it's an anime. Doing shit with adults would be outrageous.
Yeah, the amount of shows that are like, well, they have to be kids and they have to be going to school, so that's where this happens. It's like 90% of anime.
Now, to be fair, they do end up with a very interesting explanation for why it's in the setting it's in. Actually,
okay,
I
don't mind it. It's just so funny that
it
it's
is
just
so
such
omnipresent.
An anime thing. Yeah,
it is so obnoxiously omnipresent. I do agree. This one actually gives it fairly decent rationale.
It realizes that it's kind of ridiculous and hold on, this needs to actually make sense for once.
Yeah, it goes places you don't think it's going to at the end. But most of it is big fucking spectacle, just bitch slapping monsters. It's what you want it to do, and it's very enjoyable. I watched, I guess, 12 episodes, and I believe there's a second season coming out now, actually, or came out very recently that I'm going to go back and watch.
Awesome.
Hoping that it has the same kind of quality. So, yeah.
Well, before we send you guys off, I've got a tune for your ears to eat. That sounded weird. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever. My song rec this week is "Teeth" by 5 Seconds of Summer. I found this by watching way too many. I think it's like the second or third song that I've come across that I've posted out here that I've heard via listening to AMVs of Arcane on YouTube. Because I had no idea, and I listened to a couple other songs by them, and they were okay. Not my particular jam in 5 Seconds of Summer, but "Teeth" is just, whew, that is ear crack cocaine. Boy, howdy. It's like The Killers and OG Panic at the Disco made a track together. That's what this feels like to me, and I cannot get enough of it. It is just goodness at another level. Would recommend if you want to just like get down. You have anything to say before we send the folks on their merry way?
I do not. So that's just going to be a wrap.
Well, that's our episode then. Thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this, please feel free to
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe. Got him.
surprise Japanese.
I'm fluent in anime.
And don't shut the fuck up. And don't forget, new episodes of Super Pros Bros come out the first and third Saturday of every month. Bye.
Bye.